Relations between Yaoundé, N'Djamena and Malabo have been reviewed during two separate audiences at Unity Palace today. President BIYA received the Equatorial Guinea Minister of State in charge of regional integration, a special envoy of President Obiangema Bazo, and a special envoy of Chadian President Field Marshal Idriss Deby Itno. Japan pledges $2.7 billion to assist the government in the reconstruction of the Northwest and Southwest regions. This funding agreement was signed today in Yaoundé in the presence of Prime Minister Joseph John Goute. Plus, in his recent address to the youth on February 10, the head of state promised them of the creation of 500,000 jobs in 2021. And in this newsroom dossier tonight, we probe into the strategies put in place to attain this objective. And those are top stories. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the 7:30 News with me, Gladys Tata.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
Relations between Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea are good. The assurance was again given this Thursday following an audience granted by the President BIYA to the Equatorial Guinea Minister of State in charge of regional integration. He was bearer of a message from President Teodoro Obiangema Bazo. Chief Unity Palace correspondent Ashu Nyente reports.
Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea enjoy very fraternal and cordial relations, both as neighbors and because of the closeness of their heads of state. It is for this reason that the special envoy dispatched by President Teodoro Obiangema Bazogo is received this Thursday, 18 February 2021 at the Unity Palace with open arms.
Ministre d'État équato-guinéen en charge de l'intégration régionale. Monsieur le ministre d'État, soyez le bienvenu.
For close to 1 hour, the head of state, in his double capacity as President of the Republic and sitting chairman of CEMAC Heads of State, and Balthazar Ngonga Ejo, Equatorial Guinea's Minister of State in charge of regional integration, talk on bilateral cooperation in general, but especially a renewed threat posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the permanent consultations on this between the heads of state.
I was bearer of a message from President Teodoro Obiangema Bazogo to his brother and counterpart, President Paul Biya. Bearing on concerted actions on what to do, we are threatened by the health crisis, COVID-19. The pandemic surprised us all. Therefore, the heads of the state are worried about the likely health, economic, monetary and security impact this might have.
It is with the feeling of having served as a medium to reinforce cooperation between both countries that the special envoy leaves the Unity Palace.
Shortly after that, President Paul Biya also granted audience to a special envoy of Chadian President Field Marshal Idriss Deby Itno. The envoy, Chad's Minister of Infrastructure and Transport, Ahmad Abaka Ajid, was bearer of a sealed message. Once more, Ashu Nyente.
In recent times, cooperation ties between Chad and Cameroon have increased in several domains. Their populations are close, with interwoven interests. That is why the President of Chad, Field Marshal Idriss Deby Itno, has dispatched this envoy to his Cameroonian counterpart. The Chadian Minister of Infrastructure and Transport, Ahmad Abaka Ajid, is received with all the honors due his rank and status before he gets to meet the head of state.
Monsieur Ahmad Abaka Ajid, ministre tchadien des Infrastructures et des Transports.
They would chat for over 25 minutes. Though the envoy wouldn't get into the specifics of their conversation, he indicates the clear areas of interest, which include
development, fight against poverty, social problems in the two countries, terrorism.
In the last several weeks, the Unity Palace has been the favorite destination for strategic diplomatic consultations. This makes a total of 5 envoys received here in 3 weeks.
The presidential plan for the development and reconstruction of the Southwest and Northwest regions has received its first support from a foreign partner. The government of Japan has committed itself to supporting the initiative to the tune of $2,750,000. The funding agreement signed today in Yaoundé in the presence of Prime Minister Joseph Dongote targets the construction of water points and the development of health facilities in Fakou Division. Star Building correspondent Christian Che-Atam tells us more.
The signing of the financing agreement between Cameroon and Japan, which was supervised by Prime Minister Joseph Dongote, represents the first commitment made by a bilateral partner of Cameroon towards the execution of the presidential plan for the development and reconstruction of the Northwest and Southwest regions.
The government of Japan decided to finance this project implemented by UNDP to rehabilitate the water point and the health center of the Southwest region, and we are going to continue to contribute to the reconstruction and development of the Southwest region.
Having donated 8.9 billion for the execution of the plan, the government of Cameroon is hoping that the Japanese involvement is a positive signal which others will follow.
Japan today has showed the way, and we want to believe that our partners will also continue to support, as they did relentlessly in the past, Cameroon in its dire need to progress towards development.
The United Nations Development Programme, the implementing partner of the plan, is positive that the gesture made by Japan will have a direct impact on the field.
We think that it is very important, while other things are taking place, that we don't forget to at the same time provide social, economic, basic services to the affected population.
About 90 billion francs is required for the execution of the plan. The government has provided 10% of that sum and is hoping for a favorable reaction from other bilateral partners.
A delegation from the National Assembly has inspected the construction site of the Southwest Referral Hospital, which shall also be the BIYA University Teaching Hospital. It was an opportunity for the delegation, headed by Honorable Itombi Gladys, to assess the level of progress of the project as it will make and also to make recommendations. As you tell us, Charles Abuno from CRTV BIYA.
The delegation from the National Assembly had a meeting with some key stakeholders of the project, such as the architects and the Southwest regional delegates of public health and housing and urban development. It was an opportunity for the delegation from the National Assembly to know more about the different facets of the project and the challenges being encountered in its execution, a major one being insecurity.
Even though people are not here, the place is guarded. And it is an encouragement to show that everybody who has to work should have a level of confidence in the military, the people who are there. That is their job.
A visit to the construction site enabled the team from the National Assembly to actually appreciate the level of progress of the construction work, which, when completed, would have a tremendous impact on the health needs of the population. The contractor has also been encouraged to get the local population more involved in the construction project when it resumes.
The special representative of the United Nations Secretary for West Africa and chairperson of the Cameroon-Nigeria Mixed Commission for the implementation of the ICJ ruling, Mohammed IBN Chambers, says the Mixed Commission has resumed its deliberations after the break imposed by COVID-19 pandemic last year. Speaking after an audience granted him by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute today, the UN official said the Mixed Commission has recorded significant progress since it resumed deliberations. Let's have a listen.
At the time the Commission broke off, there were 13 points of disagreement still remaining between Nigeria and Cameroon. Since the work resumed in December, 5 of those have been resolved, and there is remaining 8. And I personally feel optimistic that these can be resolved. This is what I came to inform the Prime Minister about, and to take the opportunity once again to thank His Excellency President Paul Biya for all the support he has given to the work of this mixed commission, and to assure them that the UN will continue to work as a facilitator.
The government of Cameroon, through the Ministry of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Industries, has handed over modern fishing equipment and 60 newly constructed houses to the Bakassi Peninsula Development Program, BADEB. A ceremony to that effect has taken place in Limbe and Jabane in Idabatu subdivision in the Bakassi Peninsula as part of efforts to encourage Cameroonian fishermen in a sector largely dominated by foreigners. Gerald Nanji Eyambe is just back from Idabatu with the details.
It is a new dawn for Cameroonian fishermen in the Bakassi Peninsula. They have been equipped with modern fishing materials, including 60 low-cost houses.
We come here in Limbe, where these materials are stored, to hand over all this material to the Bakassi Peninsula Development Program. It's this program that have the duty to conduct the development activity at this area. We want to caution them. These materials are there to make sure that there is production, and this production should be sold in the Cameroonian market for the use of our population.
The gifts were delivered in separate ceremonies in Limbe and Jabane by the coordinator of the Bakassi Development Program, who, like the mayor of Idabatu, saluted government's effort in empowering the fishermen in a sector dominated by foreigners. This coincided with the BADEB Orientation Committee meeting in Jabane 2 to adopt last year's financial report and 2021 budget, which stands at 1,535,000,000 francs CFA.
Officials of the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training say the promise by the head of state for the creation of 500,000 jobs in the country in the year 2020 made in his address to the youth is founded on measures earlier taken by government. In the following report, Prince Will Mukwele Aduma says he unveiled the strategies employers will meet this target and the challenges facing the country notwithstanding. His report.
The creation of 500,000 jobs in a country that wrestles with insecurity and health constraints calls for a rethink by experts. But the presidential promise of February 10th is giving meaning in the Ministry of Employment through the National Employment Policy.
The National Employment Policy that has 4 pillars. These 500,000 jobs is not an impossibility because the public service will create jobs, the private sector will create jobs, the regional councils create jobs.
The president terms youth employment a national priority. They who brandish academic credentials need the amelioration of manpower employability experience to go through.
Training facilities, we have modern centers, we have the advanced vocational training centers that are already 3 in the country. There's one in Samilima, in Limbe, and in Douala. We have trade training centers, Kongsamba, Nangai Boko, that will soon go operational, and there are about 5 of them, Ebebda, Marwa, Betwa, that are ongoing, that maybe in the next 1 year they're supposed to go operational.
The reality of numbers superseding opportunities have change of mentality.
Self-employment, entrepreneurship is something that is very much promoted, now encouraged through so many programs put in place by the government that might even give more than the 500,000 jobs.
The onus is now on job seekers.
And talking about decent jobs and moves to create 500,000 jobs by 2021, plans are on the way to give weight to the training of actors of the informal sector who did not go through any formal training. According to Prime Ministerial Decision of July 2018, regulating professional training, hairdressers, tailors, mechanics, and many others will henceforth receive certificates based on their experience, a certification exam that opens them doors to employment in the formal sector, as Beatrice Ngom tells us.
They did not go through any formal training. They acquired skills in their different domains from practicing in workshops in town. But thanks to the government's new initiative, they can qualify for a certificate.
The profile of those vocational trainers, the characteristics of the infrastructure and the various equipments that will be used in the training. So everything is laid out by this 2018 law on vocational training.
To give them a recognized status, the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training has facilitated their migration from the informal to the formal sector. After working for a number of years, they can then sit for the validation of acquired experience exam to have their skills certified.
The hairdresser will have to show us maybe a document attesting that he has that experience in that particular domain. And the ministry might decide now to organize exams. And in the course of that exam, the ministry will bring in experts in that particular field to come and evaluate. After the evaluation, if the person passes, then the ministry will go ahead to give them a certificate attesting of that experience in that particular field.
The experimental phase of the exam to certify experience in various domains held between 2016 and 2018. The next session is envisaged in the days ahead.
The private sector, however, has a potential to generate jobs as well. The society in need of qualified plumbers, tailors, bakers, jewelers, builders on a daily basis. So how qualified are Cameroonians to deliver these services? What training opportunities are there to give them the skills so they pick up jobs for themselves in these sectors in high demand? Beatrice Losamba sought answers in the following report.
Cutting its coat according to its cloth, the government is set to train people who will deliver skilled services in high demand in our communities, thereby creating jobs for themselves. In this school, aspiring chefs and dressmakers dress up to defeat unemployment.
We have observed that there are so many domains that do not have well-trained technicians. I don't think that in our country there's a school where bakers are trained. But we eat bread every day. That's why our school have been chosen to open this new specialty.
And there are many more of these services in high demand. Plumbers, miners, jewelers, tailors, mechanics, and a lot who are in short supply as they are hired any day, any time. Community colleges across the country introduce these courses daily.
There are many other sectors like tourism, where we have people who are working but do not have this professional experience.
For those not qualified to go to colleges, vocational training centers offer the same opportunities to be skilled. The Ministry of Vocational Training is in constant touch with these schools to figure out tailoring training for specific enterprise needs.
The minister wants to put in place in the ministry, in the various delegations and in training centers, people who will be able to help the productive sectors identify their need in competence.
In the future, Cameroon plans to hire local skilled hands for its common services as a way of steering the local job market, even as the country is on its way to emergence.
Let's take you to the littoral region to talk on small and medium-sized enterprises which have the possibility of paying their taxes online, while sectors affected by the COVID-19 pandemic will benefit from tax exonerations. These measures were announced in Douala by the Director General of Taxation, Modeste Mopa Fotang, during a meeting with the SEC actors. Sally Ebenenyoki has the details from Douala.
The talks between the Director General of Taxes and heads of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, in Douala were constructive. The SMEs had an opportunity to talk about their problems.
We're facing a lot of difficulties. When you see a tax collector coming, you just like to run away or to hide.
Despite these drawbacks, alongside the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the SMEs paid their taxes last year. Measures have been taken to assist sectors hard hit by the pandemic.
The decrease of the corporate income tax rate, which has decreased from 30 to 28%. Hotels have been are benefiting from exoneration. Transporters will not pay any more some taxes.
Hence, all taxpayers are expected to use e-procedures. SMEs stand to gain.
This reduces the contact between the taxpayers and the agents of our administration.
SMEs make up 85% of the tax base. It was therefore necessary to reach out to them with details on the 2021 finance law.
How to make cocoa growing sustainable and environmentally friendly while guaranteeing decent pay for producers. The issue was at the center of discussions between officials of the EU delegation in Cameroon and those of the Ministry of Trade, who equally reviewed concerns related to standards and traceability. Clarice Aritakang has more.
The protection of forests globally, zero tolerance to child labor, and attaining the Sustainable Development Goals are some of the priorities of the EU. Tying this to the cocoa sector is the assertion that European consumers want to eat chocolate without having to bother about deforestation and the poverty of those who grow the crop, amongst other worries. Dialogue with stakeholders is therefore crucial, as was discussed during the meeting between trade officials and the EU delegation in Cameroon.
The first pillar is the price, very important for us, for the producer. The second one is the standard. So we can join this initiative. The producer is a poor element of the chain. It's important to be sure that the producer can have the fair price from the market.
The idea is to arrive at environmental, economic and social sustainability in the cocoa production sector. Equally looked into were concerns related to norms, traceability and sustainable production.
The 44th Annual Governing Council of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, has ended with discussions focusing on the need to invest in rural areas. The session was co-chaired by Cameroon's Minister Delegate at the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Clementine Ananga-Messina, who also doubles as the President of IFAD's Council of Governors. Details with Constantine Baum.
This virtual 44th session groups members of the Governing Council of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, who are the main decision-making body. The session unfolds under the theme, Rural Development, a prerequisite for global resilience, enabling the Council to discuss the critical importance of investing in the rural areas of the world's poorest countries and how to close the rural development funding gap, actions similar to those being implemented in Cameroon.
The impact of the cooperation has been improved because we have now 6 projects in the portfolio with IFAD. The cost of all these projects is more than 80 billion. CFA friends.
This year, member states will also appoint IFA's president for a 4-year term, a candidate supported by Cameroon. Some of the key speakers, like the President of the Republic of Angola, Gonzalez Lorenzo, Imran Hamad Khan, PM of Pakistan, Agnes Kalibata of the UN Food Systems, highlighted the lessons of the COVID-19 crisis and re-evaluate how they sustainably and equitably produce, process and consume food, following IFA's model of building a better rural future.
The Cameroonian business delegation sojourning in Kigali, Rwanda, was at the Kigali Prime Economic Zones to seek avenues for future investments. The area, spanning hectares of land, is the site of local companies and multinationals. In the report that follows, CRTV's envoy to Kigali, Alphonse Abogwa-Achu, presents the investment opportunities for the Cameroonian business class.
The prime economic zones of Kigali is an industrial zone created through a public-private partnership in the Republic of Rwanda to attract investors from within and beyond the country.
Every investor here has the freedom to sell wherever he has clients. For example, we have people here in agribusiness. They are sending their products in Somalia, South Sudan.
The Cameroonian delegation on a business exchange visit to the city made a stopover at the zone fondly referred to as the gateway to East and Central Africa to explore avenues of business expansion.
The first thing I noticed is that everything here is digitalized, and also at the special economic zone, they have many amenities for those people who want to invest. It goes on administrative facilities, but also in technical support, spaces that have been prepared for your companies, where you can put your offices or your raw materials.
This visit may just be that key factor that will open the right doors for these Cameroonian entrepreneurs at the time when the Continental Free Trade Zone, the biggest market on the globe, goes operational.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
When the first coronavirus cases were confirmed in Cameroon last year, the government of Cameroon set up different COVID-19 management centers nationwide to cater for those tested positive. Months after, what has become of these centers? Let's find out from Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hi, Baldwin. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Gladys Tata. When we had the outbreak of the coronavirus last year, most of these COVID-19 management centers were created, not only in the central region, in the other regions of Cameroon. And here in the central region, they were so busy, so active, with many cases of persons tested for COVID-19 were taken to these management centers. What has become of these centers? Several months after the outbreak of the COVID-19, we find out from Dr. Joseph Fokam, who is our guest tonight. Good evening, doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
Explain to us what has become of some of these management centers as far as COVID-19 is concerned, given the present situation of the spread of the virus?
Effectively, Baldwin, at the beginning of the pandemic, we had so many cases, and we met our peak around the month of June 2020, where we had approximately 30 to 40% positivity rate among suspect cases. And so during that period, these COVID-19 management centers were highly busy because there was a high demand from patients. Actually, throughout the month of August up to October, the number has decreased. But during this recent month, we have been seeing recently positive cases that are also severe or critical cases now that really need assistance within this COVID-19 management unit. And what we have seen so far, the number of severe cases have moved from 1% in previous month. Now we are around 4%. So we really want to inform patients these centers are still functional within our 10 regions. If you have any symptom, please get tested. And if you are positive, go as soon as possible in this COVID management center. Testing is free. Management also is free of charge. And what is important is to pick up this patient as early as possible before they get to the critical condition, such that we may be able to recover them as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, doctor, for all those explanations. You have an idea as to what has become of for some of these centers. They are still operational, and when you get any symptoms, don't avoid to get yourself screened for COVID-19. Back to you, Gladys Tata.
Thank you very much, and thanks for our guests tonight. And we now take you to discover the Kalfu Forest Reserve in the Mayo-Danai division of the Far North region. The reserve is home to about 500 elephants and other wildlife like giraffe and antelopes, which have found refuge there due to the lack of water and food in the Waza National Park. Henry Tatoe Kambi of CRTV Far North is our guide on this journey.
Two issues prompted the Minister of Forestry and Wildlife's visit to this Kalfu Forest Reserve in the Mayo-Danai division. Jules Dorendongo wanted to once more extend the state's condolences to the family members of the 9 persons who lost their lives in the past 14 months due to the conflict between elephants and the populace, and secondly, to find lasting solutions to the worrisome situation.
I came here with a message of government, a message of condolence, because as you may know, in 2020, Mayo-Danai recorded 7 deaths, and since the beginning of the year, 2 persons have died. So we had to try to find a reliable solution to that human-wildlife conflict.
There are about 400 to 500 elephants in this Kalfu Reserve. Experts say to solve the problem of these elephants getting into this Kalfu Reserve that is small to contain these elephants, they need to rehabilitate and arrange the Waza National Park. Minister Ndongo also enjoined local authorities to double effort to find solutions at their level so that together they can make this life-threatening menace history.
Well, thank you, Henry Tatoe Kambi, with those very beautiful images there from the Mayo-Danai division. And it is here we draw the curtains on this edition of the 7:30 News. Thanks for watching. You'll be in the company of Evelyn Owonai-Somba at 8:30 for the news in French. Until then, it's bye from all of us on the 7:30 crew. Good night and stay blessed.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.